not exactly hidden. After dinner, Cal's Tarn was escorted home by Koga. The young man had grown much closer to his family after the attack on his hometown. They tried to have him spend a night or two in the village, but he had more or less constant night terrors. So they stopped that entirely after the second time, and every night he was brought home. After breakfast, he'd head over to the trees that had been touched by the dark forest just next to his house and walk through. Letting the young man approach things at his pace was helping the healing process enormously. For a young man who lost family, security, and had both seen and directed death mere weeks ago, he was doing astonishingly well. The night terrors were bad, yes, but things could be far, far worse. He turns, and rather than simply returning to the woods, he begins to walk out of the cul-de-sac that the Tarn family calls home. The area was in remarkably good shape, and there is one person to truly thank for that: Baroness Tyr. The woman was making a spectacle of herself in the rebuilding efforts. Some of her rivals were snickering up their sleeves that she was terrified of the sorcerers and wanted to make sure no wrath fell on her, or that she was trying to secure herself a sorcerer husband through the use of wealth rather than battle prowess. But considering that Koga was planning to spend some time with the girl, well, it was working then, wasn't it? Still, the results of her efforts in making sure that every bent tri-type piece went first to the homes of the people, then the infrastructure, and then the businesses, followed by public monuments, in that order every time. Beautiful. The auction, numerous charity drives, and a deep dip into her own pockets had almost every home in the town already repaired. The only traces of damage left were the pieces the residents insisted on. Scarring gives the house character, being the general idea. Of course, the sorcerers themselves had contributed. A lot of construction work and infrastructure was made a hell of a lot easier when you could simply move the earth on command, and the cost of a house went down drastically when perfectly cut boards and beams were supplied en masse. All told, the predictions put the complete recovery of Nodok at 2 more weeks and a near doubling of general value at 3. Work was predicted to be finished in 5, including the graveyard and monument. There were some things that could not be rebuilt or restored, lost lives being one of them. He spots her from afar at first. She's speaking with several construction workers as he approaches. Those pipes will need to be replaced entirely. The local bakery may have had a unique taste to it, but I suspect it may have been some sediments from the decaying pipes. The forewoman of the construction team states, "I see. What kind of repairs are we looking at?" Tyr asks, even as Koga walks up in absolute silence. "That depends on whether he's willing to shift things for us," the forewoman says, pointing right at Koga. Tyr spins and blinks in surprise. "I didn't hear you approach." "I'm walking properly, meaning without sound," Koga remarks in a teasing tone before offering a reassuring smile. "So, what was I hearing about needing some earth and stone shifted?" "We've been detailing a lot of the infrastructure, and some piping that goes right under the main road here is badly decayed. It's well maintained on the opposite ends due to the building owners replacing things, but nothing was going wrong, so nothing was assumed to be wrong." "Daiki, would it be possible for you to shift the road itself out of the way?" Tyr asks, and Koga nods. "Simple enough, however, I need to know where the pipes in question are first," Koga affirms, and the forewoman pulls out a holographic projector that shows the outline of the pipes, with a measurement stating that they're 3 meters down. "Girls, we're getting some overtime. Set up safety barriers and get those replacement pipes here on the double." The forewoman orders, and the workers at the nearby construction site start moving. "This isn't too much of a problem, I hope?" Tyr asks. "Not at all. It's easy enough." Koga dismisses even as the construction workers set up a safety barrier. He then focuses, and with a gesture he lifts the entire section of road out and sets it to the side as one large piece. The pipe beneath is completely untouched and also clearly covered in rust. "This shouldn't take so long as that pipe gets here," the forewoman says as she turns to her crew who are scrambling to get the replacement pipes warped in and all their tools set up. "I'll be back in an hour. Will that be enough time?" Koga asks. "Plenty. This is a quick cut and weld job." The forewoman promises him, and he nods in return. "Excellent," Tyr says and smiles at Koga. "If you could join me for a quick walk dike, I would be most appreciative." "Certainly. Is there something you want to talk about in particular?" "A few questions, and I'm willing to answer a few in return," Tyr offers. "Of course," he says, and she beckons him to follow her. "What are you worried about?" "Worried is perhaps too strong a word," she says as they start heading in the general direction of the ruined greenhouses. They had replaced and even expanded on how many there were before, but the exotic plants that had been touched by the power of the dark forest were growing stronger still. The wild copse of fruits and berries were twisting together into a thick and powerful knot of edible plants from over a dozen different worlds. "Is concerned a better one?" Koga asks. "Curious would be more appropriate," she answers, "particularly about this." They stop at the base of the strange combining plant. "It's not hurting anything, but it's not anything I've seen before. Is it a flower, a vine, a tree, a fungus? All of the above, it seems. The dark forest is learning about it, trying to grow them all at once and as best as it can," Koga says as he puts his boot on one of the large moss-covered roots. There's a deep groaning sound as things start to pull apart and settle at the same time. The large flower splits into many smaller ones surrounding a large fruit-bearing tree whose trunk is covered in berry-laden vines and with numerous caps growing on the roots with large blankets of moss between the roots themselves. That's a bit more orderly," Koga notes. "Anything else?" "Yes, I was hoping that you could assist me with a political matter," she states. "I'm not sure you want me for something political. I'm a soldier and sorcerer. Neither is all that well known for doing anything at a political function than being the big stick to beat people with," Koga notes with a raised eyebrow. He's clearly expecting her to confirm she wants a big stick to beat someone over the head with. After all, reminding someone who's saber-rattling that you have the equivalent of a WMD in the room is a hell of a way to get them to stop. "Oh, not in your capacity as a soldier or sorcerer," she says. "Pardon? Never mind, we should move on," she says as Koga takes off his glasses to give them a little polish. "Ma'am, did you just ask me on a date?" he asks in order to be clear on things. "No, I said we should move on," she replies, turning away. "I see pity, because I wouldn't be opposed to it." "Oh, Tyr seems to mentally reset a little as she considers things. "You wouldn't?" "No. Although I'll need a bit of advance warning in order to get something appropriate to wear. You're a sorcerer. If you decide to wear nothing but what the woods offers you, no one but the Empress will even try to protest. And with the Empress's reputation, she's more likely to laugh if you were to do such a thing," Tyr offers. "Okay then, is this little date for something, or is it just a chance for us to test the waters?" Koga teases her lightly. "Well, I mean, it is a formal dinner invitation. It's the birthday of a nearby noble. The invitations her mother sent out always have a +1. "Her mother sent out the invitation? Is this noblewoman a child?" "She's older than either of us, but her mother isn't the type to let her run wild and grow. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, and I'd reverse it myself if I could. But my mother's passing forced me to grow up in many ways. Ways that I should have done long, long ago." Tyr remarks, and Koga lets out a slight chuckle. "Is this the same girl that fainted when we first met? You told me the next bone chewer would be coming for me. Not how I remember it. You showed up out of nowhere in my secret sanctum, and no, I'm not going to argue. Do you want to come with me to my distant cousin's birthday celebration as my +1? Certainly, but we can make this more scandalous, right? Surely there's someone there that you'd want to rub me in the face of or something like that, right? Koga asks with a teasing smile. Stop! No, nothing like that. I'm just looking to… Well, Uth-Tyr trails off. I'd be delighted. Where do you want me to be and when? He asks her and she smiles. How about where we met? Also, I've done a bit of looking into things. A formal kimono will have you both properly attired and very exotic. Sneak into your secret sanctum in formal wear and meet you there before heading to a formal dinner. That is a funny image. Would a daisho also be appropriate? Are you mocking me, Sir Sorcerer? Am I? I thought I was asking about formal wear, Koga teases. What is a daisho? Traditional family swords, katana and wakizashi, or rather main sword and secondary sword. Know that won't be needed. Fair enough. It's more of a samurai thing than shinobi anyways. A ninjato would be more appropriate. No weapons. The general understandings for such gatherings is that no one is going to draw a blade on someone. Not to mention, the power of a sorcerer is more than enough. If there is going to be a battle princess there, then there won't be more than one or two. Not enough to stop a sorcerer, let alone a sorcerer and soldier who's following his assassin ancestor's footsteps. Let's be fair, I'm not a proper ninja. My training was far from complete before I left Earth, and the fact that I'm only arguing that point is proving your point. Yes, it is, she says. I know where and what to wear. When? He asks her. 2 days, 3:15 in the afternoon, she says, and he nods. Gladly now? Koga's answer is cut off when Uth-Tyr's communicator starts going off. She offers him a slightly apologetic smile as she answers it. Oh, okay then. We'll be there shortly, she says after a moment. She then pockets the device and smiles. They've finished at the roadwork, so they need you to rebury the pipes. Let's head back then. Are there any surprises for this party? Am I expected to bring a gift? Koga asks. No, but I am. It's already covered, though, Uth-Tyr says as they start walking back to the construction site. Uth-Tyr opens her mouth to ask questions a few times before closing it. Her mind is whirling somewhat as she tries to consider things and comes to many conclusions that run counter to many modern-day expectations and understandings. She's young and inexperienced, the ruler of a tiny state without much power and inexperienced. But none of those are detriments to humans or sorcerers. Perhaps an Apuk sorcerer might refuse, but a human one. To them she's not young and immature, she's just somewhat younger than average, which from what she understands is not a negative, not unless it's taken to an extreme. Humans are from an isolated planet and frankly put an extremely poor part of the galaxy, not to mention the expectations of men and women are different there. She seems barely worth notice to a sorcerer by Apuk sensibilities, but by human sensibilities. Is it reversed? It's so odd, yet strangely pleasing. Is this how Miro Noir achieved that insane matchup with the sorcerer Vernon? And isn't that a pleasant idea? She can't help but walk a little closer to him, and he does nothing to pull away. A smile graces her lips as things fall more and more into place. Such a lovely opportunity won't stay around forever, so she should take advantage of it while it's here. After all, it's rare for the Baroness of a tiny state to get such a catch.